Xingxingtai is a place for disciples to practice in Tianming Valley. Each disciple has his own territory. Outsiders are not allowed to enter easily. Once they enter, they will disturb the cultivators, and naturally there will be disputes. Of course, if your strength is enough to overwhelm the cultivator, naturally no one dares to gossip. Xingxingtai goes from the outside to the inside, and the stronger the strength, the more it goes inside. Xingxingtai is also an important building in Taiminggu. Xiong Yuan introduced to Xiaoyan. Xingxingtai is divided into 12 layers. Even the Ming Emperor did not dare to stay in the center. He usually stayed for up to an hour and then came out. It can be seen how terrifying the energy in the innermost layer is. Xiao Yin and the others were in the outermost layer, but they were not affected. Brother Xiong Yuan, can you give me some pointers? I don't quite understand this fighting technique. Just as Xiao Yin followed Xiong Yuan to look at the surrounding landscape, a helpless young man walked forward towards Xiao Yin and the two of them. With Xiong Yuan's temperament, he would naturally not refuse. In Tianming Valley, as long as there is no hostile relationship with Xiong Yuan, they all like to look for Xiong Yuan. And since Xiong Yuan was promoted to the two-star emperor, people who were a little dissatisfied with him before have also become a bit more awe-inspiring. Xiong Yuan smiled, took the scroll in the young man's hand, looked at it without thinking, then demonstrated it to the young man, and patiently told the young man the main points. Xiaoyan looked at Xiong Yuan and couldn't help but smile. He really liked Xiong Yuan's temperament. After Xiong Yuan's guidance, Xiao Yin walked alone to watch the scenery of Xingxingtai. Hey, boy, this is my territory. Get out of here. One step closer. I'll break your leg. Xiao Yin walked, but didn't pay attention to where he was standing. A fierce-faced young man saw Xiao Yin, who was looking left and right, walking into his cultivation area, and roared angrily. This young man, named Wu Yong, is notoriously domineering, and his strength is extremely not weak. He has reached the middle stage of the one-star emperor. According to his estimation, he will be promoted to the two-star emperor in a few hundred years. The two-star emperor is also quite powerful in the clan. Xiao Yin didn't respond to such verbal abuse, but seemed not to hear it. Xiao Yin knew that he had entered someone else's cultivation site, and thinking of Xiong Yuan's introduction just now, he turned and was about to leave. Just as Xiao Yin was about to leave, the young man, sitting in the distance, suddenly stood up. A trace of anger flashed across his face, looked at Xiao Yan's back, and said coldly, "Didn't you hear what I said?" Xiao Yan heard the young man's words and slowly turned around. The breath of this young man naturally could not escape the exploration of the soul power of Emperor Xiao Yan's realm. According to the information passed to him by Emperor Ming, this young man should be in the mid-stage of the one-star emperor. Xiao Yan secretly guessed in his heart, "Why should I listen to you?" Xiao Yan raised his eyebrows and said with an unchanging expression. The young man looked at Xiao Yan's calm expression and couldn't help being startled. In Tianming Valley, who would be so calm when he was stopped like this? There was a strange look at the corner of the young man's mouth. He wanted to see what kind of power the young man in black had in front of him to give him such confidence to talk to himself. The kid is very aggressive. Isn't he new here? Breaking into my territory is still so hard. It looks very powerful. Arrogant boy, do you have the courage to learn from each other? The young man pointed his middle finger to the sky and said, very domineering. Xiao Yin was nothing more than an ordinary early one-star emperor. In his eyes, like an unthinking ant. When Xiao Yin heard the young man's words, a trace of displeasure flashed in his eyes. But he was not afraid. Looking at the arrogant young man in front of him, the blood in his body began to boil. Fighting, he hadn't fought to the fullest for a long time. Xiao Yin also wanted to try what level he had reached after decades of cultivation on the vindictive continent, and what kind of strength he was in the middle stage of the one-star fighting emperor. Xiao Yan's heart instantly ignited the desire for battle, and the corners of his mouth also showed a strange smile and nodded. The young man laughed. What an arrogant boy. He dared to be so rampant in the early days of one star. then let you see what is the strength of the mid-stage of one-star duty. Xiao Yan smiled, shrugged, spread out his hands, and said suspiciously, but it seems that the monument says that fighting is forbidden in this place, right? Not here. Isn't it better than the test site? The young man glanced at Xiao Yan. Follow me if you have the guts. The figure immediately swept away into the distance. Xiao Yan was naturally not far behind, and followed with great speed. How could Xiao Yan's body of strange fire be comparable to that of an ordinary fighting emperor? In an instant, Xiao Yan caught up with the young man. A look of surprise flashed in the young man's eyes, and his expression flew away coldly. Xiao Yan had to follow the young man closely. He still didn't know how to go to the test field, seeing that Xiao Yan was at a disadvantage. A look of pride flashed across the young man's face. If he wanted to know that Xiao Yan hadn't used his full strength, he might not be proud. A huge test field appeared in front of Xiao Yan's eyes. The two sides landed, then registered, and the two came to the center of the test field, fighting with one touch. The coercion suddenly came overwhelming, making the surrounding air seem to be drained, making it difficult to breathe. A sneer flashed on the young man's face, and he said coldly, "Boy, do you want me to let you go? Don't pretend to be a man. Pretend to be struck by lightning." Facing the young man's sneer, Xiao Yan said softly, making the young man a little embarrassed, and a trace of anger suddenly appeared on his face. "If you want to die by yourself, then it's no wonder to me." The young man was also slightly angry at what Xiao Yan said. When did he suffer such anger? There was an oozing evil aura in the young man's eyebrows. After Xiong Yuan's guidance, Xiao Yan was no longer by his side, but Xiao Yan's breath naturally could not escape Xiong Yuan's tracking. "How did you go to the test field?" "I'm afraid it's not a good thing." Xiong Yuan was afraid that something would happen to Xiao Yan, so he hurriedly flew in the direction of the test field. "The body of Emperor Yin Xiao," Yin yelled. Xiao Yan's body suddenly swelled into a giant, surrounded by countless fire dragons. It looked quite strange. Wu Yong didn't fall behind either, releasing his body as a fighting emperor, and with a slight movement, his big palm roared with the sound of breaking the wind. Xiao Yan looked at the whistling big palm and did not dodge, but directly hit it with a punch. With a muffled sound, the surrounding air suddenly brought a kind of power visible to the naked eye, and the two majestic figures suddenly stepped back a few steps. Xiao Yan smiled at the corner of his mouth. "What? Impossible." Wu Yong looked surprised. How could Wu Yong not be surprised that Xiao Yan was only in the early days of the one-star emperor, and he could even face his midterm strength? If this spread out, what would his face be? The average one-star emperor in the middle stage is not his own opponent. Not to mention the guy who is full of fire in front of him is just a one-star emperor in the early stage. Looking at Xiao Yan, who is surrounded by countless fire dragons all over his body, Wu Yong couldn't help but feel a trace of horror in his heart. "The palm of the great heavens!" Xiao Yan yelled violently. His palms swelled several times in an instant. The fire dragon condensed in his palm, and a huge palm print rushed towards Wu Yong fiercely. Wu Yong's face changed slightly, and a long spear suddenly appeared in his hand. And at the same time, he shouted hurriedly, "The Emperor's spear!" A huge shadow of a gun flashed suddenly, and two energies collided, and Xiao Yan's heavenly creation palm collapsed immediately. A touch of pride suddenly appeared on Wu Yong's face. After breaking Xiao Yan's attack, he directly brandished the spear in his hand and stabbed Xiao Yan. Suddenly, a colorful giant ruler appeared in front of Xiao Yan. With a crisp sound of impact, Wu Yong's figure was suddenly shaken back a few steps, and he looked coldly at the weapon that suddenly appeared in Xiao Yan's hand. "Stop it!" A violent shout sounded behind the two of them, and Wu Yong's body couldn't help trembling. It was Xiong Yuan's voice. "Wu Yong, what are you doing? Don't stop it for me." Xiong Yuan's face was very ugly. If Xiao Yan made any mistakes, he would not be able to explain to Emperor Ming. Seeing the anger on Xiong Yuan's face, Wu Yong immediately lowered his head. His strength was still 180,000 miles away from Xiong Yuan, so he didn't dare to move. At this time, Xiao Yan smiled and said, Brother Xiong this elder brother is just learning from me, and he didn't mean to hurt me. Please, Brother Xiong don't blame him. Listening to Xiao Yan's words, Wu Yong blushed a little. He didn't expect that Xiao Yan would intercede for him in the end, and he was still so excessive at the beginning. Xiao Yan, you don't have to say good things for him. I know the character of this kid very well. Xiong Yuan snorted coldly and said, then looked at Wu Yong, who was buried with his head low, and shouted angrily, Wu Yong, do you know that he is from the Xiao Clan? The people of the Xiao Clan. Hearing these words, Wu Yong was a little frightened. Even his ancestors did not dare to offend the Xiao Clan. If Xiao Yan really blamed him, I am afraid that even the Ming Emperor would not be able to protect him. Fortunately, Brother Xiao Yan didn't blame you. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to stand and talk to me here. But you still have to be punished. Go to Demon Valley and be punished for a year. Demon Valley was opened up by Tian Minggu specifically to punish disciples who violated discipline. There are countless monsters in it, but they are only virtual and will suffer from flesh and blood. Wu never dared to speak, so he nodded and recovered himself. Brother Xiong let's forget it. It's just a general exchange. There is no need to punish this brother. Xiao Yan also recovered himself, guessing that most of the Demon Valley Xiong said would not be a good place. He shook his head and said, Xiong glanced at Wu Yong with his head drooping, sighed, and let Wu Yong leave by himself. He didn't expect that this kind of thing would happen after he left for a while. If Xiao Yan was injured just now, how could he explain to Emperor Ming? Old man Xiao was waiting in the valley, shaking his head and smiling bitterly. Brother Xiao Yan is fine. Since I have also watched this competition, I will take you to the Fighting Skills Palace in the promotion hall next. Xiong said. He dare not leave Xiao Yan this time. There are many domineering people in this valley, coupled with Xiao Yan's aura in the early days of the one-star emperor. It will naturally cause a lot of trouble. After Xiong took Xiao Yan to see the attractions in the valley, it was getting late. This was Xiao Yan's first day in Duty Continent, and this day gave him another desire that he hadn't had for many years. That is, to improve his strength as soon as possible. The moon is like a silver plate, and the sky is full of stars. In the starry sky, towering into the clouds, Xiao Yan lay on the highest point, thinking about the battle he was born today, and raised his palm with some vicissitudes of life, just as he felt more than 10 years ago. Looking through the gap between the fingers in front of him, looking up at the huge silver moon in the sky. Thinking of the battle this afternoon, Xiao Yan sighed lightly. He felt that battle. In this world, there seems to be a special force suppressing his own power. What kind of power is this? That kind of desire for power suddenly surged into Xiao Yan's heart again. Xiao Yan lazily withdrew his palms and put his hands on the back of his head. Today's parting couldn't help but make Xiao Yan a little dazed. In Xiao Yan's heart, how could he be willing to the continent that gave him growth? Thinking about how long the road is waiting for him, he is a little excited and a little worried. He is afraid that he will not be able to go back when he comes. And he can't help but think of those charming faces and beautiful bodies, as well as his group of little kids, who are also a little lonely in his heart. Hey, brother, what are you thinking? Xiao Yan was startled by this sound. Isn't this Xiong? Xiong also lay down like Xiao Yan and looked up at the stars in the sky. Xiao Yan sighed faintly. What else can I think about? Of course I'm homesick. Do you mean you don't want to be home? Xiong smiled slightly, then shook his head. I don't want to be at home, because I don't have a home. Only here is my home. I am an abandoned member of the family. Why should I be in love? By the way, brother, let me tell you, you can't go back to the vindictive continent when you come here. Xiao Yan jumped from the ground in fright when he heard this. Emperor Ming hadn't told him about it, so he immediately yelled in surprise. No, can't you go back? Wouldn't it be that I will never see my family again? Xiong only smiled slightly when he looked at Xiao Yan's surprised expression. In fact, it's not absolutely impossible, but no one has done it so far. Hearing this, Xiao Yan immediately put down the stone in his heart. At least there was a way. Xiao Yan let out a sigh of relief and asked, I don't know what to do. Please let me know by senior. Xiong Yuan's expression lightened, and he smiled. In fact, this method is very simple. That is, the more you fight the emperor, everything after that is easy to say. But you also know that there's been only one person for thousands of years. The more you fight the emperor and created this space, the difficulty can be imagined. Xiao Yan's heart fluttered. It's over. He knew from the information given to him by the Ming emperor before how difficult it was to fight against the emperor, not to mention how difficult it was. Time alone made Xiao Yan unable to accept it. It takes 1,000 years to rise from 1 star to 2 stars. 4,000 years for 2 stars to rise to 3 stars. And 10,000 years for 3 stars to rise to 4 stars. After 4 stars, it will be completely useless. It depends on creation. How long will it take to rise to 9 stars? I'm even more worried about Emperor Yudo. At that time, I'm afraid that none of my relatives existed, right? Thinking of this, Xiao Yan felt sad and silent, thinking that he might never see his relatives again. Xiao Yan couldn't calm down. He traveled from the earth to the vindictive continent. With that family of relatives, Xiao Yan said that if he didn't see it, he would never see it again. Xiao Yan felt very sad. He had known this. So why did he advance to this fighting emperor?